With YouTube attacking alternative media, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon for just $1 per month. Link below. Cloverfield Paradox came out the other day, like immediately following the Super Bowl, and a lot of people jumped right over to go watch it, and the reviews have been mixed. I personally really enjoyed the movie. I liked the connection to the Cloverfield universe, but I felt that there could have been a little bit more to really kind of tighten it up. A lot of other people felt the same way, but ultimately the movie, I would believe, in terms of fan response, has been better well received than it has been with critics. Critics giving it very, very, very low ratings, and there's been lots and lots and lots of speculation as to why. Now, the full details as to why and how this deal came through, as far as I know, are not confirmed yet. And I'm hoping that we get to the actual full thing and what this means for the future of the franchise. But one little tidbit of information that we did learn was that J.J. Abrams reportedly wanted to do more post-production work on the Cloverfield Paradox, but didn't, and that could actually have led to the connection between the movies, adding it to like the anthology part of the franchise, feeling as weak as it did because they weren't able to fully integrate in everything they wanted to do. And now that ultimately, just before we jump into this here, does strike me as a problem. Because when you have a franchise like Cloverfield that is meant to kind of, run like more of an anthology, or they're all kind of somewhat interconnected, you want to make sure that it works. And taking an already made movie or an already written script and trying to shoehorn it into the Cloververse does get a little bit annoying. You know, fans like it, they really like it, and they want to see it continue, but they want it done in a way that doesn't feel like it's just lazy. And there are a lot of complaints about Cloverfield Paradox and the connection to Cloverfield universe as being lazy. And in some ways I agree, but at the same time, I feel there's more to the story, and we're going to get that as time goes on. Now, it says here that The Hollywood Reporter notes that J.J. Abrams allegedly wanted to make post-production adjustments to Cloverfield Paradox. Netflix's unexpected announcement that the Cloverfield Paradox would be released immediately after the Super Bowl was certainly exciting to fans of the film series, although many later agreed that it was the weakest in the franchise. When news broke that Netflix was in talk to acquire the third Cloverfield film from Paramount, The Hollywood Reporter reported that insiders were aware the film needed work and that J.J. Abrams intended to get down to business in post-production. However, the outlet sources that Abrams' unexpected return to Star Wars franchise following Colin Trevorrow's firing from Episode 9 ultimately prevented him from giving the Cloverfield Paradox attention. And that actually would make a lot of sense, right? That actually does make a fair amount of sense here. So let's, there's going to be some spoilers here for Cloverfield Paradox ultimately. So if you haven't seen it, go see it and then come back. But essentially, the way it connects is just that, the God particle, the station, Cloverfield Station, using the Large Hadron Collider to create the energy source in space, somehow brought in the monster from their dimension, or from another dimension, to Earth. That's what they were insinuating. But the problem with that is we never really got a lot it never really was super solidified, right, as to why. Okay, because the general core concept of the film is that they run the experiment, it works, but it transports them to another dimension or another universe, a multiverse. And they actually end up occupying the same exact Cloverfield station that that particular universe was using. And that becomes part of the paradox, part of the problem. But how Clovey, or Clover, whatever you want to call the monster, comes into play here was not explained. Right. It was very much not explained. It was hinted at as to, oh, this is how it got there, how she got there, but we don't know. And we never saw it. And that's one of the biggest problems here. I mean, if you look at the idea behind 10 Cloverfield Lane, they had a lot of time leading up into 10 Cloverfield Lane to lay the clues to kind of show what was going on. Even though the movie was originally made under the name of Valencia, and it was from a script originally titled The Cellar, it didn't have anything to do with Cloverfield outside of that one shot that was inserted later on of Bold Futura, a Tagarato company that John Goodman had worked for. And then you get a little bit more information about John Goodman and his obsession with his daughter, and how it all kind of ties into aliens and satellites and so on and so forth. So that kind of gave us a little bit more information in that movie, but this one didn't really have much of that, just that Clovey showed up. Now, what we know is in this universe now, Cloverfield is there. The monster is there, and the monster is full grown. It is not a baby like she was in the first Cloverfield movie. And that, according to J.J. Abrams, in that universe, that Cloverfield is dead. So somewhere, someplace else is where these monsters are coming from. Even though, according to J.J. Abrams, originally in Cloverfield, this monster was birthed from the sea. So I don't know. Now, there's been theory and speculation that aliens actually came to Earth a long time ago and planted the eggs themselves, laid the eggs themselves, and then were coming back to check on them after the events of Cloverfield. And that was what happened with the alien invasion at the end of 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I actually thought was a pretty cool idea. I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of cool if they tied them together that way, where even though it was 8 years later, it still would be part of the same coherent timeline or cohesive timeline. And that's not something they necessarily worked on. This one feels, again, it's totally separate. So these Twilight Zone, Black Mirror-esque takes on Cloverfield, while cool, definitely suffer in the back end because of that lack of connection. And I think fans are wanting to see something a little bit more on the nose, because they don't want to feel like their time is being wasted. And Cloverfield Paradox, in the way that it handled the situation, at least based upon initial reviews of it, does kind of feel like it did to an extent. But that being said, whatever's going on with Overlords, which is the next movie, I really do hope that they've got a lot of stuff lined up for it. I hope they got their ARG set. I hope they've got their background information set, and I really hope that they know what the hell that they're doing, because fans, will take this one as a bit of an L, and they'll come back for the next one. But if the next one is done like this, then we get that. But the problem with that too is, if this is to be believed, and J.J. Abrams did not give the post-production time that he wanted to give to the Cloverfield Paradox because of Star Wars Episode 9, he's still working on that. Like, they pitched the idea already to Kathleen Kennedy, and they're working on the script right now, and they're going to probably start shooting, next year or maybe later this year. No, they're going to start shooting later this year for for Christmas 2019, bid and everything else. So obviously, yeah, if Overlords doesn't already have a lot of this kind of stuff in place, then we're probably going to get a very similar experience to Cloverfield Paradox, which, if you want my honest opinion, as much as I want to see it this year, as much as I want to continue the franchise, I waited 10 years for 3 films. I can wait a little bit longer.